Well, good morning, everyone. Here we are in northern Kentucky, and I don't know whether it's spring or summer. No, we didn't have spring.
We didn't have spring.
Yeah,
no.
we had one day of spring.
No.
So, I know this is Facebook Live, and so it takes a while for notifications to go out. A lot of you look at it later, of course. And so I'm here right in front of the Creation Museum, and this is the week after Memorial Day weekend.
A busy weekend.
So, very busy weekend. We don't have as many bus tours this week because they don't organise bus tours because of the Memorial Day weekend. So they start in full force again next week. But I think we've got a couple of bus tours this week, but when they really are in full force, we have 30, 40 buses over here.
Yes, parking lot is full of buses.
And then down at the Arc, sometimes up to 70 buses.
That's incredible.
I know, it is phenomenal.
70 buses a day.
So here we are. We can start to get into the real stuff now we wanted to talk about today, now that I've talked about nothing much there for the, for the first little bit.
Let everybody sign on.
And then I'm going to actually sign on too and get here on my phone. I have here with us our head horticulturalist. In fact, Tim has been our horticulturalist ever since we had horticulture.
That's
here.
right.
Well, not ever since there's been horticulture in the world.
But here, on this site, yes.
But here on this site.
Right.
You designed the gardens, and actually I remember when you talked to us and told us about what you did, and you wanted to use your talents for the Lord.
That's right.
And you wanted to glorify the God of creation and what you could do here at the Creation Museum. And so you had this burden and vision for the gardens here and also for down the Arc.
And that was almost 14 years ago.
And that was that 14 years ago?
It was almost 14 years ago. We're on our 11th year at the museum, correct?
11-year anniversary.
Okay.
We just had the 11-year anniversary,
so
actually.
Started designing and installing gardens and waterfalls 2 years prior. So we actually had the waterfalls going in first, if you remember that. The large waterfalls going in, and then we started on
I do remember that.
the rainforest and the bog. Those were the first two gardens.
And now we have some other gardens as well.
Correct.
I was just looking, got a number of people on, someone from NYC, New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And they're asking questions, what's the story of the auditorium you guys are working on? Well, that's down at the Arc, actually.
That is at the Arc.
And it's well under construction.
And it's massive.
That's a massive building.
It is.
It is a massive building. So, tell us where you're from. There are people from Texas and Oklahoma and people coming in from other places as well.
We might be just as hot as Texas and Oklahoma the last couple of days.
I think so.
Yeah,
what was it, 88 yesterday?
It was 92.
What, 92?
92 yesterday.
No wonder I felt hot. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to have Tim walk us through the gardens. This is your opportunity. If you know someone who loves gardens, we're going to walk through the gardens here because they've really started to come out.
They have.
Now, winter sort of caused a problem.
We had a rough winter,
let's walk here.
one of the roughest winters we've had in quite some time. So we'll see some damage. A lot of plants that we're just letting them come back, and especially the pines. You'll see a lot of brown pines that were wind burned and damaged from the cold. But the new growth is coming out, and they will eventually kick that off. So it was a tough year. Our bamboos also took a beating this year. Our rainforest in Kentucky, which always seems to be the best garden that as far as folks want to come and see. And that garden took a pretty good beating this year with the bananas and the elephant ears, but they're all coming back. So you'll see those as we gather around. You can notice the front of the building. We did a big change on the front of the building just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
This was just a wide open space. The original design, remember, had a fountain in the center.
Right.
Yeah, but the crowds were so big, we had to change that design up. And we wanted to soften the building, so we added some new trees and a lot of color.
It's really looking beautiful. It's really maturing.
It is.
You know, somebody said here, just walk past you. Can't wait to hear you talk. Somebody's visiting the Creation Museum. Just walk past us. So it is really looking beautiful. Plants are coming out, the annuals that you've planted.
Yeah,
and,
so the annuals that we just put in, we grow down at the Arc site. So maybe sometime we can go through the greenhouses at the Arc. We have 8 greenhouses down there, and we grow, this year we grew almost 10,000 annuals.
What are these plants here?
These are a Spirea. This is a hardy shrub. It's a great plant. It flowers early spring. It has a nice a nice yellow foliage color. And then in the summer, we'll cut them back a little bit, and it'll rejuvenate that growth and flower again. Very hardy.
So, as people who are coming in to visit the Creation Museum today, we've still got some of the flags up from Memorial Day weekend, as we can see there. And these gardens have really matured now, haven't they?
They really have. And we are going to be going through some changes with the gardens. Now, as we get over, we'll get to the new parking lot. And so everyone will be entering through the campus, through the gardens.
And actually...
So we're going to have to widen the trails.
We're going to have to widen the trails.
Yes.
But we're also putting in a spectacular playground for kids.
We are. That's in the design as well.
We're going to make some changes over there near the animal experience, we're calling it, actually.
That's right.
Instead of calling it a petting zoo, we're calling it the Eden Animal Experience. We're renaming that. So I remember when you first had this built here, this bridge. And the waterfalls. And I remember when the waterfalls were first in and there were no plants there. Now they look really mature.
They really do. And this one we had to wait on. If you remember, I don't remember what year it was, Hurricane Ike. This is our woodland garden. And Hurricane Ike came all the way up here and we lost 50 trees, mature trees. So we had to wait to replant our woodland garden until we got some shade. But there's some beautiful plants. This bright grassy color is Hakanakloa. It's a Japanese woodland grass. And that beautiful calacanthus there, one of the biggest flowers on a sweet shrub. That's a hardy shrub, very pretty. And then we line the rest with a lot of perennials, so we get a lot of color. But there's just something soothing about a waterfall. It's just peaceful.
There is. These waterfalls are beautiful. The plants are beautiful. They've so matured. Mm-hmm. I mean, these botanical gardens here would be some of the best you'll ever see in Kentucky, I would say.
I think so. Mainly because there's some unique gardens. So we don't just have a certain style of landscape. So this is a woodland garden. Then we have, like I said before, a koi pond and a butterfly garden in the rainforest.
So people have any questions, ask us while we're walking around here, and I'll get Tim, our head horticulturalist here, and the visionary behind all our gardens here and at the Ark, to answer them. Someone asked how many acres we have here for the gardens here at the Creation Museum.
The gardens themselves, I would say, are roughly around 15 acres. The lake is about a 3-acre lake, which was here. It's been here for a long period of time, actually. And we just kind of expanded. We created these canals for the waterfalls and just excavated those out and created those. So the waterfalls are just a recirculating pump from our lake.
So what are these plants right here?
So these are some of the annual plantings. This is a salmon-colored zinnia. It's a dwarf zinnia. It's a newer variety. It's a great color. These will all spread and fill this entire site. I think Dale and his team planted around 3,500 annuals, again, of which we grew down at the Ark site.
So somebody here said, thank you for identifying the various trees and plants as you go. I know people like that, so maybe you could tell us what we've got over here, some of the things.
Some of the unusual ones in here, the evergreen that you see in the back, of course they're young, but they're coming on. That's a Diadora Cedar. It's kind of rare. You don't see a whole lot of those. My favorite tree, the Cedar of Lebanon, we have planted over by the zoo area.
Oh, really?
I had to have some Cedar of Lebanon.
Okay, we'll have to have a look at that.
Fantastic tree. We have some Stewartia and Styrax in here as well, just some more unusual trees.
Well, let's go over here and go more towards
we'll head towards the bog.
The bog, yes. Because this has really come on. I remember when you first were looking at this area and then you had to dig it all out.
Yeah, so it's a man-made bog.
It's a man-made bog. But there was a spring somewhere here, wasn't there? Wasn't there?
There was a small spring. It empties down into the lake. It's over near the zoo area. I know this very well because I grew up in this area. Actually, the lake was a swimming hole when I was a youngster, so I know this property pretty well. These shrubs here on your right, these are a Viburnum. We just missed the flower. You can see all of these clusters here were white blossoms. Then they will have a really pretty black berry, and then the fall color is great. This is a 3-season plant, and this is the plant we use to separate all the gardens. They can take cutting back very hard if we needed to, but you'll notice those throughout all the gardens. It's kind of the fence that transitions you from one garden to another once you pass that.
Now, I notice over the back here of the bog, we see some of the people that are working there.
It's very hard-working
we see lots of kids coming
in
here. And you see the horticultural stuff. Now, aren't you looking for some more horticultural stuff?
I believe we need, I think we have one more position here for the spring, and then the other part of the horticulture staff they deal with is Christmas, which is a 5-month project. So we also look for seasonal staff at that time as well. So this is our bog garden. This is a man-made bog. We just basically dug a pit and brought in peat moss from a bog out of Indiana and filled it back up. And there's some little guys you'll see in here, some of the carnivorous plants. These are pitcher plants, or Sarracenia, and they're scattered throughout this garden as well. It's a beautiful color. Normally those are very hardy for us, but in order to keep everything wet, they don't like the chemicals in city water, so
right.
we usually just dig them up and bring them in every winter. But they are hardy. We have some sweet flag that are blooming. This is like a swamp iris.
And you've got these misters in here.
Yeah, the misters are just for effect. People love them. They do cool people off. In the morning, this is just a big area of fog, the same way later in the evening, or if it's a cloudy day. It tends to stay foggy.
Now, someone asked us how much it costs to walk through the gardens. Actually, it's all a part of their ticket to the Creation Museum.
Yes.
And right now we're in the throes of changing where they actually get their tickets. So everyone parks in the new parking lot now, and the ticketing will be over there. In fact, we're coming up to that area. We'll show people where the new entrance is going to be, and people get their tickets there, and then the gardens are all a part of that, because they do cost a lot to maintain, don't they?
They do, yes. It's well, just mulch alone, it's 10 or 12 semi-loads of mulch just to keep everything mulched in. This is our koi pond. So this garden is fantastic. It is coming on in the last couple years. It has really started to grow. The pines that I mentioned before, here's one that looks really, really rough on the right, but you can see the new growth coming out. So Dale and his team will actually come out here with a leaf blower, and they'll blow all these needles out, and then the new growth comes out at the tips.
Oh, okay.
So normally that happens a month ago.
Right.
Everything has been a little bit delayed because of the long
Because
winter.
of the long winter.
Same way with the bamboo. They're still dropping a lot of the sheath that you'll see scattered throughout. You like this one?
Is that a Japanese maple?
This is a Japanese maple. So this is a lace leaf variety. So you can get Japanese maples in all types of colors, as far as the reds, purple, and green. You can also get them to where they weep, or you'll see the taller ones here. And you can see the difference in leaf as well. Some are cut leaf, some are a full leaf.
Now this is more like a couple my wife has at our house, I think.
This one at the backyard, yes.
Yes.
You have one just like this one. And even in between these two, you can see the color difference in them. So you get a lot of variance in color with Japanese maples.
And this is another
This one is probably one of the best you'll see as far as a lace leaf.
This garden is really beautiful. I remember when you first
Yes.
dug all this to get this ready.
Yeah, this was an area that we mowed, actually.
So we do have some
We do have koi in there.
in the pond.
Yeah. This is another unusual tree. This is a Poncirus, or a hardy orange. It actually does get a little orange on it. Beautiful white flower in the spring, very citrus smelling. But the thorns on these guys, it's a really unique looking plant in the wintertime.
So that reminds you of the curse.
It
Thorns
does.
came because of the curse.
Every time Dale reaches in there to prune these out, he thinks of that. Yes.
Yeah, it thinks of the curse. So those oranges aren't edible.
They're not. I've tried them. They're not very good.
Do they taste orangey?
They smell orangey. They don't
smell
taste
like-
orangey.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's a mutation then.
Yes, it is.
So again, more Japanese.
More Japanese maples. Again, different varieties. I think we have 13 varieties of Japanese maple in here.
These coluses?
Those are coleus. Yes.
Because we had a lot of those in Australia.
Yes.
But you don't tend to grow them in the gardens here outside in winter.
No, they won't take. Basically, 45 is about as low as they'll go. So,
really?
So what we do, we have color about 11 months out of the year. We plant all of our summer annuals around Mother's Day. And then in the fall, usually October, we take them all out, even though they still look good, and we plant pansies. And pansies for us will flower pretty much through the winter, except for the month of January. And then they come back and look really good early spring, and then we start the cycle over. So we're actually depleting our greenhouses right now at the Arc of summer annuals. Our pansy plugs will come in another month and a half. We'll start growing those for the fall.
And you have, how many greenhouses we have at the Arc?
We have 8.
8 at the Arc,
yes.
and we have one here.
We have a cold frame here that just houses, it's not a heated greenhouse, so it just houses some of the hardy stock. This is one of my favorite walkthroughs. I love this view, walking through the bamboo and the tea house that we built, kind of set aside here. The bamboos did struggle. Again, you'll see a lot of leaf litter on the ground. We're waiting to see what's going to come out and what we have to cut back.
Because of the winter.
Because of the winter.
So, yeah, it was a long winter, and we had a number of spring snows.
We did.
It wasn't spring, but it was supposed to be spring.
Right. April, we did have quite a few snows, definitely late March and through April.
And so somebody said here, absolutely beautiful, God's handiwork, how pretty, this is beautiful. Greetings from Missouri. And they said their husband and their grandson, they visited here at the Creation Museum, and they'll definitely be back. The gardens keep maturing, and you keep adding things as well, and we keep extending them. And
we do.
We've got all sorts of other ideas for the future. And then down at the Arc, I mean, when we opened the Arc, it was just bare ground. It was rock.
We had, yes, there was no dirt at the Arc.
And now it's so beautiful now compared to what it was. And you're opening another garden very soon, right?
We are. Rainbow Gardens should be open in the next couple weeks. Depends on how much rain this storm is going to bring up. We're at the point where all the large trees are planted, the buildings we've built. So it's the small shrubs and the irrigation going in at this point.
And so that's behind the Arc.
Yes, behind the barbecue, the smokehouse.
So we're coming over to, actually we'll be able to show people here. Might do just a quick look out here and then come back in.
Okay.
People are starting to come in for the day to visit here at the Creation Museum, where we decided to do this a little early today before all the crowds get here. But we'll just do a little zip out here and
so this
show
is
people this is the new
new parking lot and will be the new entrance to the whole campus. Ticketing building will be out along the sidewalk.
So actually we're going to have the ticketing building out here, and so people will get their tickets here. We have shuttles that come here now to take people, and we just zip out here and have a look. We can see to the right and down to the left here. This is all our new parking lot, and it goes over behind over there where you can't see as well.
And we just finished planting the trees and the beds. The shrubs actually will start going in this week for all of the beds in the parking lot as well. So they'll be dressed up. Lots of flowers still to come in through this opening.
And then the parking lot in the front of the museum is where we bring all the buses in now. So this will be the new entrance. There's actually going to be a banner going up across here that says, "Welcome to the Creation Museum." So we've made a lot of changes, and we've had to because of the increased numbers that are coming.
Yes.
Yeah, they've doubled. Some days they've quadrupled compared to what they were because of the Arc opening, and now a lot of people not just coming into northern Kentucky for the Arc, but they say, hey, if we're going to come and see the Arc and the Creation Museum, we may as well stay and see some other tourist facilities as well, and that's what they do. So it actually impacts the whole area. One of our staff was at City Barbecue last night, you know, that restaurant there.
I know that very well.
In Florence, and they sent me a photograph. They said a bus pulled up, and it was a group who were at the museum for the day, and that's what happens all around Florence now. The buses pull up at the restaurants and out get the groups who visited the Arc or the Creation Museum. So let's have a look down here.
Yeah, so this is our rainforest in Kentucky. And again, winter was tough. All the bananas you see did come back. We do leave them in the ground. Normally by this time of year, they're already pushing 12 feet. But by the end of the year, this variety of banana, Musa Bajua, they'll get right around 20 feet tall.
I thought we had some 22 foot last year.
They might have made 22. I mean, every time you get a new leaf, you're getting another 4 to 5 feet.
So they're a little late this year, but the rainforest area is starting to come back, and you lost some plants because of the winter too.
We did. We lost some, but we were able to propagate a lot last year at the Arc, so we were able to
bring them back.
Bring some of them back.
So somebody here, oh, it's a pastor from Dry Ridge saying hello to my wife, Maui. So what is this plant?
So there's
here?
a couple kinds of bamboo. This one, this is a black bamboo, which is probably the least hardy, but it did come back pretty well. And this one is a Salsa palmata. This is also bamboo. Doesn't get much taller than this. It's a great kind of a ground cover, very tropical looking.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a very nice plant.
But in winter, it dies back?
In the winter, it dies completely back. So this garden in the wintertime, you can see the museum, but
yeah,
you know,
and the ground is and the ground is bare pretty well.
Yes, we just mulch all of the bananas over, all of the cannas and elephant ears. We just mulch them over, and then they just come back.
Okay, somebody here is correcting you.
Okay.
Surprised you haven't corrected your horticulturalist on his pronunciation of banana.
Oh. That's how you say it, huh? Banana?
Yeah, banana. Yeah, you say banana.
Bananas.
Yeah, no, that's just wrong.
That's the Kentucky. It's Kentucky terminology, right?
Is that a T-Rex hidden in the garden?
It is a T-Rex. So I mentioned earlier we do Christmas light display here, and it's a massive Christmas light display. Usually there's things all up in the trees as well, and the T-Rex we just leave lit.
Yeah.
So we have a T-Rex. There's a couple other dinosaurs around that we have lights on.
And give this another month, and this will all be covered again.
In another month, you won't see the T-Rex. It's
right.
completely hidden.
Yeah, and all the banana trees will be high, and all these trees, and these leaves become enormous sizes.
Yes, they do.
Somebody here asked a question, what is Kentucky's hardiness zone?
Hardiness.
And does that make some of your gardens challenging to grow?
It does. I mean, you would not see bananas and cannas and elephant ears in most places in Kentucky unless they're close to a city where you have that microclimate. We're zone 6, pushing closer to 5 at times. This past winter we were definitely a 5. But there are varieties that you can work with. There's a nursery down in Louisville who has been hybridizing some tropicals. So some of our cannas have been through winters down there, so we know they'll make it here. The banana, however, The banana, however, is hardy to zone 5. It should be hardy to Chicago.
Oh,
so
really?
It's a very hardy banana.
And then again, now that these have come back, and you know they're a month late, but
yes.
This will all be covered. And those leaves, how big do those leaves go? They're enormous.
Yeah, this is a hosta, some in substance, and normally again they're a lot bigger. Everything is just a little bit late this year, but they will fill that space. Some pineapple lilies back in the back. It has a little purple spike leaf to it. This one is Emperor's Woo. This is another really big hosta. Pretty amazing, something this size dies down and just comes right back up every year.
Now you put a fair bit of mulch on top too, don't you?
Yeah, so we do mulch just the tropicals over. The hostas are plenty hardy, so we don't have to mulch.
So the
those.
Tropicals, what would you put? A couple of foot of mulch on them?
We put about 1.5 feet, yeah.
Foot and a half?
And it depends on the variety. The elephant ears take a little bit less. The cannas take a little bit more. So
what is this one over
here? This
here?
is another unusual one. This is Darmera. We missed the flower already. It has a really pretty pink flower on it. It's an early spring bloomer. It's a swamp-loving plant, so you can see this wetland area. Same way with this fern. There's hibiscus in there as well.
Now, is this a deliberate wetlands area
here?
Yes. Yeah, that you constructed?
Yes, because I wanted some hibiscus and some of these other big leaves that really like the moisture. Mm-hmm. It's better to just create a space like that than try to constantly keep it wet. And we created it by soil types, basically.
And you have a very complex irrigation system too, don't you?
The irrigation system is, there's miles of irrigation under here. It's hard to dig a hole without finding an irrigation line. As Dale knows, he's constantly having to repair irrigation work.
And Dale he's under you here at the Creation
Dale
Museum.
manages this whole site and keeps everything looking its best. He's got his work cut out for him this year with winter as hard as it was, so he's really working hard.
But you're the visionary behind all of this, and that's what we love, is people using their talents for the Lord. And people just love these gardens. And from now right through to, what would you say, October? I mean, in October, the fall, they start to change color and so on.
Yeah, so
that's a different look, isn't it?
Right, it is a different look. But I think summer is my favorite here. We have a lot of summer color, and the rainforest really starts getting large. You can see in the bamboo, some of them took a hit. It's some pretty good sized bamboo. And the leaves are kind of holding on. We just have to wait to see what comes out as far as...
Somebody has asked, how big is your entire horticultural staff? So you have staff here at the museum and at the Ark.
Yeah, so there's around 8 staff here, and basically 3 different departments within. You have the horticulture team, which takes care of the plants and the growing of the annuals and perennials. You have the maintenance team, which deals with all the mowing, the irrigation, the equipment repair. They do a lot of the heavy mulching and things like that. And then we also have an R&D team, which basically is a group of folks who take the design that we've come up with, and then we just install it. So that team will do everything from building the buildings to conduit to all the infrastructure, everything but basically asphalt is what that team is responsible for.
And then something made me sneeze. Actually, I have what's called photo sneeze reflex.
Every time?
And come out into the sun hits my face,
and makes you
and
sneeze.
Often I sneeze 3 times.
So that was one. We'll keep
But
counting.
people can look it up. It must be a result of the fall. It must be a result of sin. But a good percentage of the population actually have that. Some people respond to sort of certain scents.
Oh.
For me, it's sun. I can be driving a car, turn around a corner, and the sun shines straight
And you sneeze.
in the windshield. I'll sneeze 3 times.
Well, I'm allergic to dirt and plants, so
Oh,
yeah. I picked a good career, huh?
So we might want to. I know that. Did you see that person go across the zip lines? That'd be beautiful, going across the lake there. We have over 2 miles of zip lines here.
I think that's
27
what it is,
zip lines down the Ark. Some of those zip lines go 2,000 feet across the valleys.
And they're 100 feet off the ground at least. Here comes
Here we
the zip
go. Here
line.
comes someone. Yeah.
That's so fun.
So the zip lines here start at the front of the museum, go across the lake, and then they go all through the woods at the back.
Right.
The zip lines at the Creation Museum go through the trees. The
Over
ones
the
at
tram
the Ark
road.
go over the trees.
Right. Well, and the ones at the Ark do go over the trees at the on the tram road, especially. So again, another section of waterfalls as we kind of transition from our rainforest over this beautiful arch bridge, heading towards our butterfly and hummingbird garden, and it's just a garden filled with plants that really do attract the butterflies and hummingbirds. And they do a good job of it until certain cannas in the rainforest start blooming, and then they all seem to jump over there. But some of the big plants that you see that we help cover the hillside, the big leaf plant is one called Petasites. It's as aggressive as bamboo, but it does a great job of covering your hills and keeping it stable so you don't have as much washout.
So somebody said, how fun is that? Any other outdoor activities that go through the garden? Well, obviously the zip lines they're talking about.
And
we do have our animal experience here, Eden Animal Experience.
We do. And then the
camel rides.
Oh, yes, the camel
and
rides.
the sluice.
Yes.
And we're going to be putting in a big playground area, which will show people.
We'll go this
So
way, Ken.
I know what those red ones are. They're roses,
They
right?
are. Those are
See?
knockout roses.
I know my plants.
You do. That's a knockout rose. That's That's a variety of rose that came out several years ago. It's really hard to beat. It takes little to no care, and it just blooms constantly.
Which way we want to go here?
I
to the
think
right?
we'll head up this
go
way.
to the right?
Yeah.
That's an area we're going to develop over there to the left.
This is our pergola. I think this is probably the most photographed spot with the main waterfall.
So let's get up here. Okay, so standing right here with the waterfall behind us, that is sort of iconic to the
I think it is.
to the Creation Museum
Yes.
Botanic Gardens.
So this whole garden was designed around this pergola from that door.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, and the interesting thing is we laid out the elevations and we poured the concrete for this, and then it set blank until we finished all the work. And I think it was 3 weeks before we opened, the pergola went up. So I was kind of sweating bullets to see if this was going to line up perfectly with the steps. And it does. So that's it. When you come out the doors over there and you look across.
You look across, you see the pergola, and you see that waterfall.
And you see the waterfall right in the center.
You mean design went into this?
There was a little bit of
It didn't happen by chance.
There's a
random
little
processes?
bit of thought, yes. This is also another one of those trees. This is probably one of the most photographed trees. This is a variegated dogwood called wolf eyes. It's Acoustic Dogwood. It's one of the prettiest that I've seen. They generally scorch in the summertime, but this one doesn't. It looks great all year long.
So what was that again?
It's a Cornus cusa wolf eyes. So it's a Chinese,
Oh, that's what I thought it was.
Yes, Chinese dogwood.
A
Variegated.
Chinese dogwood. Variegated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so far I've known the name of 2 plants. Rose,
And
the coleus.
oh, 3.
Yeah.
The Japanese maple.
Oh, and the Japanese
you hit
maple.
that one too.
Yeah, okay.
You
So,
can see some of the size of those leaves of this Petasites. It's just a really neat plant. It loves moisture and it does spread rapidly, but it is a great plant to cover space.
I can tell people are enjoying our walk through the gardens, just looking at the comments and the number of people that are on here. Is there an area with plants mentioned in Scripture?
As far as
I suppose, like, when you read through Scripture, certain plants are mentioned, like olive tree and so on.
Well, there's a lot of plants mentioned in Scripture, and that was one that we had talked about possibly doing. The problem is here is the cold weather.
Right.
So many of those plants would not make it. So it's kind of hard to do. There's several cedar of Lebanon that we planted. Again, they're young, but here's one right here.
The cedar,
which obviously
cedar of
is
Lebanon.
well known throughout the Bible.
Right.
It's a fantastic
That's a small
tree.
one, though.
That's a small one. They take a while to get of any size, but it's an amazing tree, especially when they get large.
Someone said they love dogwood trees.
I love dogwood trees too. I wish they bloomed longer and grew faster. They're very slow growing. We do have several that are planted around the lake.
This is our suspension bridge. People love to walk across that. And then you can see the waterfall.
The kids especially. They mentioned some fun things to do in the gardens. This is definitely one of the kids' favorite things to do is run through this bridge.
We'll see if some of these kids coming on the other side are going to walk on the suspension bridge. Oh, yeah, they are. So we have, let me see.
Another one of our big waterfalls. This is the main waterfall.
What are these plants here? The blue,
this
purple?
This is actually catmint. So it's used as a perennial. This one's called Walker's Low. It's a great blooming plant. Again, it spreads. We'll let it bloom out, and then we'll cut it back again and get a secondary bloom on it.
Hey, somebody said here, shout out to the awesome camera person.
Oh, yes, there you go. She always gets a shout out.
Yeah, you do always get a shout out, but they never see you. Here, let me hold that for a minute, Maria. No, she won't let me. She won't let me have the camera. Did you see that? She's disobeying the CEO. I mean, she could be in trouble for that. She doesn't want to be on camera.
So we can walk through the courtyard here and then head over to the area where we're going to.
Oh yeah, I want to show people.
Playground.
We're going to do a beautiful playground. More roses.
Yes. Again, it's a tough plant to beat for summer color.
So we could walk over here past this little fountain. And we can see back here and see that we have some picnic pavilions.
There are 4 picnic pavilions.
And so people come in here and there are groups that come and get box lunches, and they'll come over here and enjoy their box lunch under one of our picnic pavilions. It's a nice shady
place to sit down and relax. And those are designed in a different way too, where there's 4 picnic pavilions and they're all at different levels, just to give a little visual interest as you're walking through.
Okay, so let's tell people, because we haven't made this public yet, what we're going to do here in this new space, and you could explain that for us, Tim.
Okay.
I know you have to change a little bit here in the gardens. We've got to have some entrances go in here and some things. This is over near our camel ride area.
Yes.
See the camel ride area over here. They'll be starting up camel rides here soon. Today as people come in. I think the petting zoo just opened a little while ago.
Yes.
And we're renaming this the Eden Animal Experience.
So basically from this point forward changes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Basically from this point forward changes. So the opening where this big spruce tree is here to your left, we'll probably remove that in a large portion of this garden.
So can you save that spruce tree when you remove it?
Probably not that one, no. We might be able to save the crab apples. It depends on the time of year. If we have to do it real soon, we won't be able to save it.
So a lot of this space is going to change within the next 5 to 6 weeks. is my understanding.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No.
Oh, okay.
But yes, it can change in 5 to 6 weeks. The playground area is back towards the fence where we have this one little dinosaur.
We're just going to wait for our camera person to catch up to us here.
Okay.
And then we'll explain here. So this whole area down here is going to change.
Yes. So we have basically 2 areas. We'll have a playground area, which is back in that direction towards the fence. Then we'll also have a sitting area out here. We'll have a couple structures, some other items that we're trying to work into the whole build, and then the sluice will also move over into this direction.
And then some new gardens, obviously.
And then some new landscape around
and
that.
Where the playground will be, they put around the playground that rubberized sort of matting.
Yes, and I think it's poured. I think it starts off
actually
as a liquid.
poured?
I believe
really?
So, yes.
It goes down a few inches. I know.
Several, yes.
Yeah, several inches. That's one of the most expensive parts of the playground.
It is, and it's interesting with codes, depends on the height that you can fall from.
Right.
That how deep the rubber is.
How deep it's got to be,
yes.
So that your kids will bounce.
Yes, they will bounce.
Basically.
So what we have to do in here, obviously the first thing is grade it out. There's some French drains that have to go in underneath the playground, some retaining walls to go up to level this area out. But it's going to be a big change for this space.
It is going to be a big change. It'll be a beautiful change, and it'll all coincide with the new entrance area for the Creation Museum here over at the gardens. And so when people now park, when they come in, they actually go through the gardens to get over to the museum. And that's what we wanted. So it highlights the gardens right from the start.
Correct. The only thing we have to do is we have to widen all the trails. So the gardens will go over a pretty big makeover. In September, after Labor Day, we'll have the ability to start widening trails. The crowds are just too heavy during the summer to do that kind of work. So we'll start widening in September, different sections of the trails, make it easier for folks to get around.
So what is the yellow greeny tree there?
That is a Chamaecyparis. Easy to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not going to try to say it.
You're going to remember that.
I can't say it with an Australian
There's
accent.
a lot of varieties of those. Some stay small, some get big.
What about the tree on the left there with the big white flower?
The big white flower, that is a Magnolia, southern Magnolia variety. The flowers are phenomenal. They're very, very lemon scent. You can see all the leaves on the ground. This is typically an evergreen for us. The winter was really hard, so it's dropping all of last year's burned leaves and setting out new leaves. But that's a spectacular blooming tree.
Hey, how about we walk around and walk across the suspension bridge
do that.
as we sort of finish up here. We didn't get to the animal experience area today, but we wanted to just concentrate on the gardens there with the head horticulturalist. And I will mention we still have some positions available in horticulture, but if you go to the Answers in Genesis website, we'll put a link up in the comments. And also wanted to mention to people that, if you could hold my phone for me there, that we have, I'm just going to read out some of the positions we still have available. Warehouse seasonal, warehouse associate, exhibit artist, production shop supervisor, seasonal arc associate, POS specialist seasonal, retail 3D portraits lead specialist, retail coffee lead specialist, illustrator, customer service representative, curriculum writer and editor, master plumber, staff accountant, administrative project manager, programs and workshop, host seasonal, grounds maintenance supervisor, grounds, so there's 2 positions in the grounds, housekeeping associate, second shift, another one first shift, junior DevOps, development ops engineer, digital project manager, quality assurance developer, network engineer, information security architect, client hardware and software technician, museum host, reservations customer service specialist, print mail assistant, dispatch security console operator part-time, dispatch, security console operator, dispatch supervisor, public safety officer, canine handler, another public safety officer. So
there's a few spots open. How are we getting anything done?
I don't know. Well, we already have hundreds and hundreds of staff here. So, hi.
I think I need to hit land.
Where are you guys from?
Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah.
Great to have you here today.
Thank you.
Hey.
You're Ken.
Yep.
I'm Greg Carr. You came to Wilson, North Carolina,
Uh-huh.
and you did a conference at Raleigh Road Baptist Church.
Oh, yeah.
and I was a senior associate pastor there. I still
Well,
got
there.
books you signed for us. And
Excellent.
I can't believe I'm seeing you right here walking around like a normal guy.
Well, you're live on my Facebook right now. Just,
There you go.
Just to frighten you. You guys have a great day.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm going to try to walk across this bridge here. Here we go. Maybe we could stop here for a moment and we could look down here again, the waterfalls that you built here. These waterfalls are beautiful. How deep are the pumps?
The pumps are about 15 feet down, and they're in a manhole near the lake, and then an inlet pipe that goes in.
So what happens if they fail or?
Well, if they fail, it's difficult. So
Yeah.
the next time they fail, we're going to change them over to an above ground pump.
Oh, okay.
Designed early on to be submersible because I didn't want to hear the sound.
Right.
But the newer pumps, they're a lot
quieter.
They're quieter. Again, because that was almost 14 years ago when those were put in.
So what's this big?
This is
is this one of the
walnut.
original trees? Or?
These are original trees. Some of the original that survived Hurricane Ike. This is so what the majority of what we have are locusts, which is the big tree to the right.
Right.
The sycamore, which is the really big tree over there with the white bark. And then these are walnuts.
Was Hurricane Ike the one? People don't realize we actually had a hurricane here. It came up from the south.
It did.
Had no rain,
No-
just wind.
And sunny.
And
We
sunny.
had 60-mile-an-hour winds for a day. It was the strangest thing. But yeah, we lost like 52, 53 trees that day, mature trees. The other trees that we're struggling with are the ash, which a lot of people are familiar with. The demise of the ash tree from the emerald ash borer. We did treat them for a couple seasons, but now we're kind of left them to go on.
But the good thing is you can replant, and you've planted a lot of trees.
We have planted a lot of trees. This is another tree that's interesting. Beautiful flower.
I see one over here too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a Catalpa, and it gets a large bean pod on it. And there's one right here from last year. Not one for the home landscape, but it's a very unique tree. These are the bean pods. Beautiful big leaf, grows pretty quick. Again, not for the home landscape, but if you had a large area, it's a pretty neat tree to grow.
So that survives the winter okay here.
Oh yes, very hardy.
Very hardy. Okay. Back into
Back
some of the
into-
bamboo
Yes.
and the banana trees. You can see all these banana trees coming up. This is going to be, what, give it another month and
Oh, these will be 12, 14 feet
Feet.
tall, this size. Another 2 months, they'll be pushing 20. 18 to 20. This is another pretty tree. This is a gold rush. This is actually a cousin to the redwoods out west. It's called a dawn redwood. And that tree, Ken, as big as that is, 14 years ago or 13 years ago when I planted that, it was 5 foot tall. So it really likes the ground in here. Again, a lot of irrigation, a lot of fertilizer goes into the rainforests. They get hit almost once a week with a fertilizer.
the rainforest. Again, if people come in another month, you won't even recognize
Yeah.
it now.
You won't-
It's like walking through a jungle, isn't it?
It really is. You won't see the T-Rex here in another month. Although the bamboo, we'll see how much of that comes back.
Somebody here said these gardens are so beautiful. Tim can literally name every plant in this garden. AOG is blessed to have his talent and love of our Lord. I don't think there's a plant you wouldn't know the name of, even the scientific name.
Oh, well,
Around
I'm
here.
sure there's some out there. When I went to Australia with you,
Oh
there
yeah,
were
but
a lot of
but I'm
plants
talking
there.
about in our gardens here.
In our gardens here, well, I think I planted most of them, or with the
So
help of
you know
a
the
lot of
stuff
folks
like the back of
planted
your
a
hands.
lot of them.
So maybe it'd be good to finish the walk right here. This is the entrance to the rainforest area, and you know what we might do? How about to finish it, we'll go down and sort of walk along the side of the lake a little bit.
Okay,
So
you
people
wanna
can
go
look
down
back.
the
Yeah,
boardwalk?
let's do that. Let's go back to the boardwalk.
This is another interesting tree, Ken. This is a smoke tree. You can see the flowers on it. It looks like a puff of smoke. Kind of used this one because the leaf reminded me of eucalyptus
Oh,
in
okay.
Australia. So,
Yeah. Well, you know, we
again,
live.
this is a rainforest, so I needed to use textures, even though they're not tropical plants, but they give that appearance.
Well, you know,
So you want to go down here to
lived
Nessie?
in.
Or do you want to go to the boardwalk?
No, we want to go to the boardwalk.
let's go to the
I'm lost. Where are we? Okay. I've only been here a million times. So
This is your favorite garden to walk through.
it is. I love the rainforest because it reminds me, I grew up in North Queensland and in the rainforest area. Somebody said here we had a, what do you call it, Catalpa?
Catalpa. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in our backyard when I was growing up, the beans and big worms
Big
to
worms, yes.
eat the leaves. Really?
Yes. A lot of folks seek out that tree when they're going fishing. They do get some big worms on them.
Somebody here said, love this tour. Facebook Live has the freedom to be so casual. Well, that's what we are. Just being casual,
That's
just
right.
wandering through the gardens. And I don't often have the opportunity to spend this much time with Tim as you're so busy with all that's going on, and your team are doing so much construction down at the Ark right now, and all the gardens down there.
The Rainbow Gardens is going to be a really great addition to the Ark site.
We should tell people, in the Q-line gardens,
Oh, yes.
when you go into the Q-line gardens there's a special tree in there.
There is.
My wife calls it her stick tree because I'm trying to think. We moved to Kentucky, 24 years ago, and about that time, a little bit after that, so it'd be about 21 years ago or so, someone gave me a present, and it was a little stick. They must have ordered it from somewhere, and they claimed it was an Australian bottle tree. Mm-hmm. If you've ever seen an Australian bottle, you've seen Australian bottle trees.
I have.
And they have the shape of a bottle, and they grow really big, but they grow very slowly. And so my wife nurtured that tree, and of course, having it inside the house, it didn't like that too much, and we put it out in the summer, and it would love that. And it grew and grew and grew, and we had to repot it, and then she said her stick tree needed to get out of the house because it was getting too big, so we gave it to the horticultural team at the Ark.
Yes.
And you have repotted it, and it's growing phenomenally, and each season now you plant it in the Q-line
in the
gardens.
Q-line, yes, it goes out in the Q-line. And we had, this year, we had to repot it again. Actually, repotted it just before we put it back out, and it dropped its leaves completely, which, was...
Was that frightening?
It was a little frightening. But it came back beautifully. It's leafed out with all new growth, and it is very slow growing.
And so the way you put in the gardens, because it won't survive the winter.
No, it won't.
So what you do is you just dig a hole and put the whole pot in, right?
Correct. The whole pot goes in the ground, and then we pull it back out.
And
Probably around October when we start planting the fall annuals, we pull it out at that time.
And then you put it in one of your big heated greenhouses.
Yes. So some of the tropicals that we do haul in and out, we try to keep that to a minimum because it's so much work. But we do have one house that we keep heated, and with that one we keep heated to about 45 degrees, and that's plenty hardy or cold or warm enough, to keep your stick tree, your bottle tree alive.
So what people need to do...
We don't keep it warm. 45 is about all it needs.
So what they need to do is get online and look up the leaf of a bottle tree, and then when they come to the Ark and go through the Q-line gardens, look for this one very unique tree.
It is.
And see if you can identify the Australian bottle tree. And because my wife nurtured that for so many years,
She did a good job. I mean, if that started out as a stick, it's what, maybe 10 feet now? 9, 10
at
feet
least.
tall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the root is really big.
Yes.
And then the stem is quite thick. And
yeah, the trunk is just going to keep getting thicker and thicker.
I know the other horticulturalists that work under you. I know one of them in particular. She's paranoid about that tree because she says, if that tree dies, that's Ken O'Malley Ham's favorite tree.
Yes. Well, she had some heart palpitations last week when the leaves dropped.
But every time we took it out of the house and put it outside, the leaves would drop. Then would just grow new leaves back.
She does a fantastic job. She's the one, Kim is her name, she also grew all of the annuals. So this year, again, I said before, 10,000 annuals, 6-inch potted annuals. Just phenomenal.
10,000 of them?
We grew 10,000 6-inch annuals.
And you planted all those?
They are all in the ground except for Rainbow Gardens.
How do you plant 10,000 of them?
They work so hard. Growing them is a lot easier than planting them.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. I think this would be a good place to end off our walk through the gardens here this morning as we look back at the lake and we look over at the Creation Museum there. and we can see back to the. Well, we didn't go over the other bridge. That's a floating bridge, isn't it?
Bridge. That's right.
Yeah.
That's another great bridge.
You'll see somebody.
It's framed beautifully with you got the cypress trees on the one side and the willow on the other. Which is an interesting point on the willow. We planted that. It was large, 12 years ago, and the day after we planted, a beaver came in and cut it down.
Is that right?
So that one came back from the root. That tree came from the root.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we don't have any beavers here now.
No, he was moved.
He was relocated.
Yes. Yes.
Are you allowed to do that?
Well,
I shouldn't ask that on live Facebook.
He was just
really.
moved. We
didn't do anything to him.
No.
Yeah, of course. So somebody said here, wow, talking about Kim. That you're talking about. She has more than the green thumb. She has a green hand.
Yeah, she's amazing.
to plant all those. Well, Tim, thanks for the walk through the gardens.
My pleasure.
And when people come here, actually, we do offer at times garden tours.
Yes.
And so that's advertised on the Creation Museum website. I came into the sun again.
Here it comes.
You know what's going to happen? Because I came...
Maybe you turn and face that direction.
I came into the sun. I'm about to sneeze again. So I'm trying to stop myself from sneezing. Photo sneeze reflex, look it up. It's
real.
It's real. It's one of
I've
those.
witnessed it.
It's one of those things, a result of the curse. My eyes are watering now because I'm trying to stop myself from sneezing on Facebook Live. How's that? So somebody said this was a beautiful tour. Thank you. So hey, thanks for spending the time with us.
Sure.
And you can get back to getting the Rainbow Gardens finished
I'm
at the
heading
Ark.
to the Rainbow Gardens now.
And when people come to the Ark and see all those beautiful plants that are there, they'll know who is in charge of all that and who looks after all that and the vision behind it. And we got a lot more to go in yet.
We do.
Actually, with the big auditorium going up, you're going to put landscaping around the
Absolutely.
auditorium, so you've got to design those gardens. So your work is never done.
Never done. Always growing.
Always growing. So there we are, and we'll finish off here at the Creation Museum on this sort of, there's some blue sky, overcast day, but we're expecting
rain tomorrow.
Rain and storms from that, well, it was a big storm, hurricane, whatever
yes.
it was, it hit Florida there,
yes, it's coming
Panhandle, comes straight up here through Kentucky. And that often happens. People don't realize that.
It does.
And then we can get some pretty high winds too with all of that. So with that, we'll sign off here from the Creation Museum.